when you don't expect someone to bang on your front door, a little after 2 o'clock in the morning? The sound doesn't just wake you up, it punches you awake. I wasn't at a party. I wasn't living some wild, glamorous life. I was in bed in Savannah dreaming about landscape designs for a client who wanted English ivy, but lived in a swamp. My kurang 16-year-old daughter, Meline, was asleep down the hall. I'd heard her say goodnight at 10 o'clock. I'd seen her door closed. It was a humid, quiet, boring Thursday night, the kind of night where the only danger is the air conditioning breaking down. So, when the pounding started, heavy and urgent, my first thought wasn't trouble. It was confusion. Then came the lights, red and blue, sweeping across my ceiling fan like a silent alarm. I grabbed my robe and went to the door, heart hammering a rhythm against my ribs. I checked the peephole. 2 uniformed officers, faces grim, posture tense. I opened the door, leaving the chain on. "Can I help you, ma'am? Are you Danielle Vance?" the older officer asked. He didn't wait for an answer. "We need to speak with you regarding a hit-and-run collision involving a 1967 Mustang convertible registered to this address." My brain stalled. The Mustang. My Mustang. The cherry red restoration project I'd spent 5 years and $65,000 perfecting. It was supposed to be in the garage under a dust cover waiting for the weekend. "It's in the garage," I said, voice thick with sleep. "I have the keys." The officer shook his head. "The vehicle is currently embedded in the stone fountain at Lafayette Square. Witnesses identified the driver fleeing the scene on foot, fleeing my car." "Who?" "We have statements," the officer said, his eyes shifting past me into the dark house. "From witnesses at the scene, they identified the driver as your daughter, Meline Vance." The world tilted. Meline who gets anxiety ordering pizza. Meline who hates driving so much she still hasn't taken her road test. "That's impossible." I said, "She's asleep." "We have witness statements, ma'am." He repeated harder this time. "From your parents, Keith and Susan Vance, and your sister, Lauren. They were at the scene. They saw her run." My parents, my sister, at 2 o'clock in the morning, identifying my child as a criminal. The betrayal hit me colder than the night air. They weren't just witnesses. They were the architects. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. The officers left at 2:45 in the morning. I didn't go back to sleep. I walked down the hall to Maylene's room and cracked the door. She was curled up under her weighted blanket, a charcoal sketchbook resting on her chest. She was sleeping the deep, heavy sleep of a teenager who had spent her night drawing, not committing felonies. Meline hates driving. She failed her permit test twice on purpose because the idea of hurting someone with a car terrifies her. The idea that she would steal a vintage convertible and joyride through the historic district was so absurd. It would have been funny if it hadn't been my parents signing the witness statement. My mind shifted from my daughter to my sister. Lauren, I knew exactly where she was. The Midsummer Solstice Festival at the Tate Estate. It's the kind of party where the champagne costs more than my mortgage and the bad decisions are covered up by NDAs. Lauren wouldn't miss it. She lives for the content. For 20 years, I have been the invisible hand that cleans up the glitter and broken glass Lauren leaves behind. When she got a DUI in college, I was the one who drove 2 hours to bail her out so my father's name wouldn't appear on the police block. When she accidentally walked out of a boutique with a diamond bracelet, I was the one who went back and paid for it to avoid a scandal. I was the architect of their reputation. She was the star. I was the crew. I used to ask myself why I stayed. Why I let them use me like a utility. But the truth is, toxic loyalty doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow leak. It's the trap of normalization. You don't realize you're suffocating until you try to take a deep breath and realize there's no air left in the room. My parents trained me to believe that protecting the family image was a form of love. They taught me that my silence was my currency. Danielle, be a dear and fix this. You're the strong one. I accepted the label of strong because it was the only compliment they ever gave me. I didn't realize that strong was just their code word for convenient. But tonight, they hadn't just asked me to clean up a mess. They had created one, using my property and my child. The Mustang wasn't just a car to me. It was a 1967 convertible that I had restored with my own hands over 5 years. It was my nights and weekends. It was my therapy. To me, it was a symbol of everything I had built for myself. To Lauren, it was just a prop, a vintage red accessory that would look good on her Instagram grid for 24 hours before she discarded it. She hadn't stolen a car. She had stolen my peace, and then she had tried to pay for it with my daughter's future. I sat in the dark kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the house. I didn't cry. I didn't pace. I waited for the sun to come up. I knew the phone would ring at 8 a.m. sharp. My parents wouldn't call to apologize. They would call to give me the script. At 8 o'clock, the phone rang. It was my mother, Susan. Not a text, a call. That meant business. I answered on the second ring. I didn't say hello. I just pressed the phone to my ear and waited. Danielle, she said. Her voice was brisk, efficient. It was her deal closing voice. We need to handle this situation before it spirals. Your father is on the line, too. We're here. My father, Keith, said. His tone was heavy and authoritative. Now, listen. We've been looking at the statutes. Melina is 16. She's a minor. If she takes the charge, the records are sealed. It's a slap on the wrist. Maybe some community service. It vanishes when she turns 18. I stared at the coffee maker, watching the steam rise. They hadn't asked if Maylene was okay. They hadn't asked if I was okay. They had gone straight to legal strategy. And Lauren? I asked. My voice sounded calm, almost detached. What happens to Lauren? Lauren has contracts. Danielle, my mother snapped, as if I were being dense. She has a partnership with a swimwear line launching next week. A DUI would kill her brand. It would breach her morality clause. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential losses. So, let me get this straight, I said. You want my daughter, who is terrified of driving, to confess to a felony she didn't commit so Lauren can sell bikinis. Don't be dramatic, my father warned. We aren't asking her to go to prison. We are asking for a family adjustment. We protect the asset that is vulnerable. Lauren's career is vulnerable. Maline is resilient. She's young. She can bounce back. The asset, that was it. Lauren was the asset. Maylene was the liability. They weren't protecting a family member. They were protecting an investment. Lauren is 30 years old, I said. She was driving drunk. She crashed a car I spent 5 years building into a historic landmark. And you want Maylene to take the fall? It's damage control. My mother's side will pay for the car, obviously. We'll cover any fines Maylene gets. But we need a united front. The police are going to call you back today. You need to corroborate our statement. Say you were asleep. Say you heard the car leave. Say you found the keys missing. Keep it simple, and if I don't, then you are choosing to destroy your sister. And don't expect us to finance your landscape projects next season if you can't be a team player. I hung up. I didn't slam the phone. I just pressed end. Then my phone buzzed with a notification. It was Instagram. Lauren had posted a story. It was a black screen with white text, small font centered, heartbroken by the betrayal I woke up to today. Scary when the people you trust the most turn out to be the ones who hurt you. Taking a break to heal. Broken heart family trauma, #healing. She wasn't just hiding. She was spinning the narrative. She was preemptively painting herself as the victim of some vague tragic event. She was vague booking her own crime. I looked at the screen, and for the first time in 40 years, the fog lifted. I wasn't their daughter, I was their fixer. And Maylene, to them, she wasn't a grandchild. She was collateral damage, a disposable piece on a chessboard they thought they owned. They thought this was a negotiation. They thought they could buy my silence with next season's funding. They didn't know I had the black box. I put my phone down on the granite counter. I didn't scream. I didn't throw it. I didn't even cry. The time for crying was over. Crying implies you are hurt, and I wasn't hurt anymore. I was efficient. I walked into my home office and closed the door. The air in there was cool and smelled of drafting paper and expensive ink. This was my domain. This was where I managed million-dollar landscape contracts and negotiated with city councils. My family thought I was just a gardener who got lucky. They forgot that architect is in the job title. I know how to build things, and I know how to dismantle them. I opened my laptop and typed a name into my contacts. Jeffrey Cole. Jeffrey isn't a family friend. He is a shark in a $3,000 suit. He specializes in reputation, management, and high-stakes litigation. He's the kind of lawyer you hire when you want to burn the earth so thoroughly that nothing ever grows there again. He answered on the first ring. Danielle, it's been a while. I need you on a retainer. Jeffrey, I said. My voice was flat, unrecognizable, even to myself. I have a situation involving a hit and run, false police statements, and potential defamation. The opposing parties are Keith, Susan, and Lauren Vance. There was a pause on the line, a heavy pregnant silence, then the sound of a pen scratching on paper. Your parents and sister. Yes, are we looking to settle or destroy? We are looking for total unconditional surrender, I said. They framed. Maylene, I say, Jeffrey said, his tone shifting from professional curiosity to predatory focus. I'll clear my afternoon. Send me what you have. I have something better than a statement, I said. I have the black box. My parents and Lauren make a fundamental mistake when they look at me. They see my things as toys. To them, the Mustang was just a cool vintage prop for a summer drive. But to me, it was an investment, a tangible asset valued at $65,000. And you don't leave an asset like that unprotected. 3 years ago, during the final stage of restoration, I had a high-fidelity telematic system installed under the dashboard. It wasn't just a GPS tracker. It was a full security suite designed for Hivali collector vehicles. It included impact detection, location history, and crucially, a cabin audio recorder that triggered automatically when the engine was running or when an impact was detected. I logged into the security cloud portal. My hands were steady. I entered my password. The dashboard loaded. There was a notification from 2:17 a.m. Severe impact detected. I clicked on the log. There was a high-definition audio file, 45 minutes long. It covered the drive from the estate party to the crash site and the 15 minutes after the impact. I saw the little waveform on the screen, the peaks and valleys of sound. That digital file contained the truth. It contained Lauren's voice. It contained my parents' arrival. It contained the conspiracy. They thought they were in a private bubble. They thought the car was just a machine. They didn't know the machine was listening. I plugged in my headphones. I hovered the mouse over the play button. I wasn't just a mother protecting her child anymore. I was a prosecutor preparing her case. I pressed play. The audio file began with the roar of the engine. It was a guttural, throaty sound that I used to love, but now it just sounded like a weapon being loaded. Then came the music, bass heavy and distorted. And finally, Lauren's voice. She wasn't just driving, she was performing. Guys, look at this interior, she shouted over the wind. She was slurring, vintage, everything. We are literally main characters right now. I watched the timestamp on the screen. 2:12 a.m. Jeffrey's voice was flat as he took notes. She was live streaming, he said. She broadcast her own DUI. Then came the screech. Tires skidding on cobblestones, metal slamming into stone, audio spiking before collapsing into steam and silence. For a moment, only Lauren's furious sobs were audible. My phone! Where's my phone? Footsteps approached. My parents arrived. I expected panic. Instead, my father asked, calm and cold, is the stream off? Lauren whimpered about the ruined car. My mother snapped, fix your face. We need a narrative. You were never here. When Lauren protested, my father laid out the plan. The car was stolen, and Maylene, same height, 16 years old, would take the fall. A miner's record would be sealed. Lauren's brand deals would stay safe. That moment shattered any illusions I had left. This wasn't favoritism. It was utility. Lauren was the golden child because she reflected their vanity. Maylene, the scapegoat because she cost them nothing to sacrifice. It wasn't personal. It was transactional and unforgivable. Jeffrey removed his glasses. This is conspiracy to file a false police report, insurance fraud, obstruction, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. he said. They're not just bad parents, they're criminals. I know, I said. We're going to help them turn themselves in. At 11 a.m., we walked into the police station. My parents sat in the lobby as if waiting for brunch. Lauren posed as the traumatized victim. Inside the conference room, they repeated their lie that they saw Melaine fleeing the crash. Jeffrey connected his laptop. Before you file those statements, we're submitting new evidence. He played the recording. Lauren bragging drunkenly on live stream, the crash, and my parents calmly plotting to frame Maylene to protect Lauren's income. The room fell silent. Detective Miller rose slowly. We're done here. Mr. and Mrs. Vance, you have the right to remain silent, my father whispered. You're destroying your own family for a car. You weren't worried about the family, I told him. You were worried about the brand, and I just destroyed it. The fallout was immediate. Lauren was charged with DUI, filing a false report, and leaving the scene. My parents faced obstruction and conspiracy charges. The audio transcript became public record. Journalists found it within hours. Lauren lost her agency, her sponsors, her followers, and her beach house deposit almost instantly. Jeffrey filed a civil suit. My parents settled privately. They paid $150,000, a severance package, for their own collapse. 6 months later, I sat in my garden. My parents had sold their estate and fled the scandal. Lauren disappeared into Atlanta, trying to restart her life under a new name. I hadn't spoken to any of them since the police station. Maylin painted peacefully nearby, finally free from being cast as the family sacrifice. The quiet around us felt like oxygen, space that had never existed before. For years, I believed cutting off my family would leave an emptiness. Instead, it created room for peace. I had stopped trying to fix things that were never mine to fix. I had built something new. A life, a boundary, a fortress. And inside it, we were safe. I sold the Mustang for scrap. I didn't need it back. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. Breaking the cycle isn't loud. It sounds like a paintbrush on canvas. Sounds like a deep breath. Sounds like freedom. If you've ever chosen peace over family, share your story below. And if you believe in breaking the cycle, subscribe.